Very good evening to one and all. Thank you for joining in. Ajay, thank you so much for consenting to speak to our students on real estate as an industry, something that you have been associated with for almost 2 decades now. And for the record, for all present here, Ajay also happens to be our alumnus from the batch of 97, 99. Goes back almost a little over 2 decades. And in fact, some of you would have had a chance to meet and interact with him during your cap rounds. And if somebody has not met, probably you may meet sometime in October, November when we have our cap rounds this year. So Ajay has been very encouraging and supportive of the initiatives that Institute has been undertaking. And of course, he's been ingrained and very strongly involved with real estate industry in the city. So without further ado, over to you, Ajay. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, friends. And thank you for being a part of this. And thank you for your time and efforts to and your commitment to.
Sorry, Ajay, if you can be a little loud.
Okay, I need to come closer to the screen, I guess. Then. Okay, so I'll start again. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ajai Kapoor. Thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for giving your time to this. So I'm basically from the real estate industry, and I run a brokerage firm by the name of 360 Degrees, which is based out of Khar, not too far from you guys. I am also a part of a real estate association by the name of TREK, stands for the Real Estate Kings, TREK. It's a group of about 81 real estate brokers who are the top real estate brokers from the city of Mumbai. Umar said it correctly. I've been in the industry, real estate industry, for about, I think, now about 18 odd years. Prior to that, I was in the IT industry, and being a part of this for the last 18 years, I've kind of spent a lot of time in various different segments. I'd like to take you through some of these areas today. And broadly, what we've got today is 3 parts to the presentation. One is a little background setting, which I'm going to be doing to give you a glimpse of what the real estate industry is all about. Moving on from there, we'll move to what's really happening in today's times as far as the industry is concerned, which is the last 3 months due to the effect of COVID. And I'll then move to some special sectors as a part of the industry, which you guys can look at focusing on as far as your future careers are concerned. I'll move right now. Yeah, so that's a quick brief introduction about me. Like I said, I run a company by the name of 360 Degrees. I'm also secretary for this association, which I mentioned to you about, which is Mumbai's top-notch real estate association. I've done my engineering and I've done my MBA from your own institute under the guidance of late Dr. C.G. Dilima and Dr. Kaleem Khan. I worked with an MNC for about 5 years before I got into the real estate business. And in the last 18 years, I've managed to get an in-depth experience on all the sectors, most of the sectors rather, of the real estate industry. This is a very, very quick introduction about my company. It's by the name of 360 Degrees. We do buying, selling, leasing or renting. We do investments for our clients, and we do project marketing. We are basically focused on the city of Mumbai. That's where we operate and run our business from. So coming to our topic for the day is the real estate market scenario. What is the impact of COVID-19 on the real estate marketplace? How does the real estate market look like in the future? And is the real estate industry a good career option for guys like you? So these are the areas which we're going to be covering today in our presentation. What we'll also do is, as and when you guys have any questions, you could put it down in the Q&A chat, and we'll try and take it till at the end. I'll run through all the questions that you put up, and I'll answer them towards the end. So I'll start with the market structure. the entire real estate industry, if I were to divide it, there's a horizontal way of looking at it and there's a vertical way of looking at it. When we say horizontally, we are basically dividing it into buy, sell, and renting. So in terms of the transaction which happen, either it's a buy sell transaction which is happening or it's a rental transaction which is happening. And when I look at verticals, so there are various verticals. The primary ones the real estate verticals are residential, commercial, and retail. These typically are the ones where most transactions end up happening. Besides these, there are hospitality, which is hotels, which is restaurants, etc. There are land transactions which happen where people are buying and trading in land. There are warehousing transactions which happen. So people who, or developers who build warehouses and rent them out to companies like Amazon. And there is redevelopment. So typically that is slum redevelopment and society redevelopment, etc. So broadly, this is the way the market is structured. The idea being, what are the areas which you can eventually look at in terms of your business focuses. Who are the market players uh, of this industry? So in the real estate industry, primarily, we have two sides of the story. So there is a person who wants to give a property either by sale or by lease, and there is a person who wants to buy or take a property on rent. So these are two sides, and there's a real estate broker who typically is on center, who's basically managing, who's sourcing out a buyer in case there's somebody who wants to sell, who's sourcing out a seller in case somebody wants to buy. And he's the one who typically manages and engages with both sides and gets a transaction done. That is on the broader side of things, and that is what broadly the industry is containing. But this is not the only thing. Besides this, there is an entire ecosystem which flourishes, and the real estate industry is known to be amongst the largest industries which are contributing to the GDP. Now, how does this really happen? This is because this entire ecosystem is consisting of various other players in the market. So you have contractors who are typically the people who are doing the development of the building once the building starts. You have technology partners who put in the technology. In today's time, without technology, nothing really happens. So, and you have architects, you have interior designers, you have prop tech, which is technology connected to property. You have a lot of individual service providers who come and become a part of this to make a development really go through. And the real estate industry consists of all of these together. It's not only the buyer and the seller, it's this entire ecosystem together. And this entire ecosystem is said to contribute to almost 6% to the GDP of India. So that's really huge. And they say that after agriculture, real estate industry is the second largest contributing industry to the GDP of the country. In fact, even for jobs, real estate industry is one of the highest job generation industries in entire India, which is typically the core industry and this entire ecosystem all together. So these are all the market players who are really a part of this industry. To get a sense of what this industry is all about and how we can get a grip on it even further, we need to understand the market cycles. And every industry goes through market cycles during its growth. I'll just cover some very important and very key milestones which we've gone through in the last few years to give you a sense. I think some of you all may have may know a lot about this because it's been in the papers and it's been a part of our lives to some extent. But just moving backwards in history, sometime around 2002, we saw a little boom starting in the real estate industry. In fact, incidentally, that's around the time I also got into this business, sometime around 2002. The property prices started appreciating. There were people who became investors. They started trading. They started buying and selling real estate. Every they used to buy something and then sell in 6 months to 1 year. And this became a very focused area for most investors. This boom lasted up till 2008, which is about 6 to 7 years approximately. And then sometime around the Lehman Brothers crash, which happened coupled with the subprime crisis, which happened in the US, there was a financial crisis which kind of, covered the entire world. And that is when real estate in India saw a crash or a reduction in the pricing and a reduction in the demand. It went on for almost, I think, about a couple of years. And post that, it saw a nice rebound, which really came in. So sometime around 2010, we saw the real estate market again picking up, and which went on to 2013-14, post which again it started stagnating. And later on in 2016, when demonetization happened, this was a really big blow to the real estate industry, because the real estate industry, typically transactions used to happen with a lot of cash in check, and the demonetization reduced the cash flow which was there in the market, which gave it a very big blow. Sometime around 2017, which is a year after that, the government introduced GST. And GST, of course, was introduced for a lot of the industries, and real estate also was a part of that. They added GST as an additional tax to the purchase of properties, which again reduced the demand because the cost of properties went up. So this was another blow which came almost very, very close to the demonetization blow, which was there in 2016. These two things together with each other reduced the demand of the real estate industry, and has made the real estate industry see a lot of challenges for the last few years. Moving forward, almost immediately after introduction of GST, we saw RERA being introduced. So RERA is basically, it's called the Real Estate Regulation Act, and it was an act which was designed to basically improve the real estate industry in the way it functions, and it was designed with the intent of structuring the industry, make it more transparent, protect buyers, because a lot of buyers who had invested in the real estate industry went, they were kind of duped by a lot of developers. So it was with the idea of protecting all these buyers and all these investors that this act was introduced. This act is not only an act which is in India, it is an act which has been there across the world in many countries. So taking a cue from that, it was started in India. And one second, I'm sorry. Yeah, and this act which was started again gave a little bit of a blow to the industry, because all the developers took some time to get a grip on how the new system works with regards to this act. So it took them almost 6 months to a year to really get a grip in terms of understanding. There were new documentation procedures, new compliances, new systems, and a lot of developers who were not complying were taken to task, and many of them have seen a lot of penalties coming on them. So that again was a very strong milestone, very big milestone, which is there in the market cycle of real estate, and it is added to the challenges of real estate. Although the intent is really good of this particular act, but the resultant response that it has seen with regards to the pace of the industry, with regards to the sales, it has reduced the pace of the sales. So all these things which have been happening in the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years, have been making this industry a little difficult in terms of the good days that it was seeing earlier and the days that we are seeing right now. More than anything else, now, of course, COVID-19 has struck the world, and of course struck the real estate industry also. And this is the biggest ever blow, I think, to most industries. And our industry is not behind as far as that is concerned. So last 3 months have been really, really challenging. And when I think sometime in the second half of March is when COVID-19 really became visible and apparent. And a lot of people started taking precautions in terms of not moving out and stuff. So last 3 months have been very challenging for most industries, and that's the case for us also as far as real estate is concerned. Sorry about that. So what has been the effect? So I'm moving to a particular point on real estate, because real estate, as far as it is concerned, is looked at in various different ways. Your home, where you stay, is real estate. What you buy to stay. Your office, people who use offices, is real estate. And real estate is a very, very important investment option for a lot of people. A lot of people buy real estate from a perspective of investment because it is seen as a really good form of an asset which can give and or bring back money by way of a good return. So, what has been the effect on real estate over the last 3 months after COVID has come in? This is a really important aspect of this, and I think there have been a lot of articles you guys might have been reading, and there has been a lot of speculation as far as the effect of COVID on real estate is being concerned. And when we started, in fact, sometime in the month of March, the information and the views which were coming in are different from what we are reading and hearing now. So things have changed over the last 3 months in terms of the thoughts, in terms of the response and the effect of COVID on real estate. But just to give you a sense, um, when COVID really took over, we all saw that the stock market was down big time. We saw almost 25-30% crashing of the stock market. Those who were invested were really crying their hearts out. And this resulted in the mutual funds industry also really taking a very big hit. Most mutual funds have been down by about 20-30%. We've seen a couple of debt funds also winding up operations. And because these two are obviously very closely related, we've seen every fixed deposit rates which have come down. I'm covering all these because these are all investment options to the common man. Most people put their savings either in the stock market, mutual funds, fixed deposits, or sometimes in gold. And a large section of their savings also go in real estate, either via purchasing their own home or office, or otherwise through a real estate investment. So besides gold, I think gold, of course, has seen an amazing amount of appreciation, which is usually the case when stock markets go down and when life becomes uncertain. It is only gold which picks up because it is seen as a very stable and a physical form of investment. So gold has seen a very good upward movement, but besides that, I think everything else has been going down. Not only have these things been going down, but the trust and faith that people had on banks has also been unfortunately going down. So people used to put their money in banks in their savings account and in their in FDs, thinking that this is very safe. But with winding up of banks like PMC and CKB Corporate Bank and now Yes Bank, a lot of people are fearing putting money in banks. A lot of people are fearing putting money in the stock market, FDs. And what is happening is that there is a tilt which is happening where people are moving towards two main forms of asset. One which obviously is gold, and the other to some extent is real estate. So I'd like to ask, in fact, I'd like to get some sort of a sense here and from you guys. And if you could quickly chat, put your comments on the chat. What's your guess? Is real estate as a response to this entire thing, is it expected to go up or is it expected to go down in the short to medium or short to long term point of view? I'd like to, also get your sense and your idea on that actually eventually. But moving forward, what were we all doing in these last 3 months? Is all of us were at home, all of us were working or studying or doing whatever we can from our own homes, and there is a new definition for home which is somehow now emerged out of all of this. The home is now seen as a place which is safe, which is secure. It is a place which is seen, which gives you your own space. It's a space which is bringing upon some amount of bonding between your family members. It's giving you a sense of togetherness. It's giving you me time. I think what we saw in our homes was very different pre-COVID, and what we see as our home is very different post-COVID. The entire definition of home has kind of changed now, and I think moving forward also this definition will kind of stay in the minds of people for a long duration of time. In fact, like as a real estate broking agency, the kind of requirements which we used to get are now changing. So earlier we were being called for, let's say, if I have somebody who's looking for a 3-bedroom hall apartment, now I'm seeing people who are saying, can I get a 3.5-bedroom hall apartment? The reason being that people want that extra space to be able to work from there or to be able to do whatever they want out of that little extra space. So we are seeing a change in demand because of this new definition of home, which people have seen. So this is a very important thing, and I'd like to, that's why I wanted to kind of stress on this particular aspect. Now, while we are talking of homes, which is residential real estate property, what about the other kind of properties? What about the other kind of assets? So besides residential, there are offices, there are shops, there are malls, there are warehouses, there are restaurants, there are hotels. All these are different kinds of real estate assets typically. And all of these have seen various different types of effect on them compared to what the home has seen. So like I said in the previous slide, the home has achieved a new kind of a definition for itself. At the same time, the way an office is looked at, the way a shop is looked at in terms of an investment or an ownership, there is a big degree of change which has really happened. So for office spaces, for example, a lot of companies are re-looking at how they want to use their office. They're re-looking at whether space optimization, the way it was done earlier, is it should it be done in the same way or not? With many people working from home and work from home becoming a very, very common sort of a practice, they are wanting to relook at can we restructure our office utilization and allow more and more people to work from home so that our need of office space becomes less. And if the need of office space is becoming less, then can we reduce the office space and reduce our rental outgoes? So large companies typically occupy office space on a rental basis. So if you, let's say if I take an example of Amazon, and Amazon may be occupying, let's say, a lakh of square feet in, in Whitefield in Bangalore. So Amazon would be paying a rent of, just for sake of discussion, let's say 10 crore rupees a year. Now, in a lakh of square feet, if they've got approximately 5,000 people who are coming and using that space, Amazon would like to relook at, can it really resume and continue operations with just 2,000 people coming on the office and the rest of them working from home? If that happens, then they are able to reduce their space requirement from 1 lakh square feet to probably 50,000 square feet. And in that case, they can reduce their rental outgo from 10 crore rupees to 5 crore rupees. That's a huge amount of savings for a company like Amazon, which is spending a lot of money on rental because it needs to accommodate all its employees in one building to be able to work together. So companies are looking at newer ways of working. They are looking at using technology to be able to integrate and work together. They want to check and see how many people can really work from home and without losing efficiency. And this is changing the way the office business is going to look. Rentals are already coming down. Companies are already looking at renegotiation with their landlords so that they are able to reduce their rental outgoes. So that's a very common trend which has really come in. There have been a few articles in the newspapers and you guys might have read some of these also. Similarly for shops, 3 months, no shop has been opened except for groceries and pharmacies. All shops have been closed. Most shops operate on rentals. So if you have a grocery guy, if you've got, let's say, a laundry guy, if you've got a mobile store close to your home, most likely he's taken the shop on rent. He's paying a monthly rent amount, but if he can't earn business from there, then he can't pay the rent. If he can't pay the rent, then he's got to get the rent reduced or he's got to request the owner to not take the rent for those 3 months. This has become a big point of contention. A lot of discussions happening around this, and the entire demand for retail shops has suddenly dropped from, let's say, 100 to probably a 60 right now, because most people are not able to use shops. They are not able to open their shops. And because of that, most people, and what is going to happen is once this whole thing starts opening up, even then the demand is not expected to come back to normal. So the demand for shops is going down, the demand for the rentals, and hence the value of the rentals is going down for shops and showrooms. Similarly for restaurants, I don't think there are any restaurants which are operational right now except those who are doing home delivery business. Similarly for malls, warehouse is a different scenario altogether because most e-commerce companies are doing very well. And because they're doing well and they picked up business, so warehouse spaces are doing fine, rentals are okay, and that is how that is going on. Hotels again is a big issue because most hotels are closed. So with all of these different real estate assets, all of them are seeing their own trends. They're all seeing their own demand and supply kind of a balance which is happening, and their own stress on the rentals. That's to give you a sense on the residential, which I spoke about earlier, and now on the commercial ones. I gave you a little sense on some sort of trends, but besides these, what has really been happening as far as our industry is concerned, there are multiple more number of things which are really happening. And this slide and the next slide is designed to be able to give you some sort of a summary in terms of the macro trends which are happening. What I've also done is I've divided both these slides. So this one is focused towards residential and the next slide is focused towards commercial. So on the residential bit, demand has been low for obvious reasons. People can't move out to look at options. Real estate purchase is a very high ticket value purchase. And in these times of stress, in these times where people are not making the kind of money that they were by way of salary or by business, most people have deferred their buying purchase decisions as far as home is concerned. So last 3 months, demand has been almost moving to, I would say, 5 to 10% only. The only demand which was coming was for distressed transactions. So there is a set of people who have not really suffered as far as cash flows are concerned. And if they've not suffered and their funds are available with them, they've been coming and they've been saying, okay, times are bad. Can I get a good distressed transaction? Can I get a good distressed deal? I want to buy, let's say, a 5 crore home at the price of 4 crores. Is it possible? So demand has been low for the last 3 months. But now with things opening up, it is picking up rapidly as far as residential homes are concerned. Customers are starting to move out and we can see that very, very visibly in the current context. So let's say last 2 weeks after 8th of June, when the lockdown has opened up, people have started moving out, whether it is for looking at rental homes or whether it is looking for buying. But it is very slow and steady. My guess is that it will take another 3 to 6 months for this to really pick up a good amount of pace. What about capital values? This is a very important point here. So being in the business, I've been speaking to a lot of people over the last 3 months, and with everything kind of crashing, stock market crashing, mutual funds not being able to give you your returns, FD rates going low, everything going down. The big feeling was that the real estate market is going to
हाँ क्या
Sharik, mute
बड़ा
yourself.
कौन
Sharik,
सॉरी सर
Ajay, sorry.
Yeah, I'll continue. So the big sense was most people were like, अब तो real estate की band बच जाएगी, अब तो ये हो जाएगा, अब तो वो हो जाएगा. Now you wait and watch. I'll get a 10 crore house for 5 crore rupees. I'll get a 2 crore house for 1 crore rupees. This was the sense with a lot of people in the beginning, in let's say the March, April months, because everything was crashing, not only in India, across the world. So the feeling which was coming from a lot of people was that everything is going to be down in a very, very big way. But actually speaking, the opposite has happened really. The reason being, real estate is a physical asset. It is not a liquid asset. So what happens with a liquid asset is that it may go up very fast, but then if something goes wrong, it can go down and it can crash very fast. A liquid asset allows you to sell at the press of a button. You can't sell real estate at the press of a button. You've got to, I mean, there is a process involved. It takes time. And if you want to sell a 1 crore house or a 1 crore office property at half the price, even then it takes 3 months to do that. So because it is not liquid, it has survived this entire last 3 months without much of a break as such, basically. So that to people like us who are a part of the industry is a very, very big saving grace. We are extremely happy that it did not crash, because if it did crash, then people tend to wait till the bottom of the crash. Once things are moving down, then people get on a they tend to get on a waiting game. Ab aur girega, ab aur girega, ab aur girega. Let's wait. It's not been the case. We've seen a little bit of a few distressed transactions which have come out in the market, but they are far and few, to be honest. There's not much. Developers have been extremely stressed for money, but even they have been managing to hold on. And very few developers have come out in the market with distressed transaction. Most of them are holding on. They feel this is a game of about 6 to 9 months, post which things should get back to normal. And they feel they are in a position to be able to carry on and move on and stretch for the next 6 to 9 months. So the good thing is that it's not crashed, because if it would have crashed, then it tends to affect a lot of other industries, and we would have seen a 3-year kind of a crash cycle probably happening. That's not been the case. We've seen small price corrections of, let's say, about 5 to 15% approximately. There are few transactions or few assets available at more than 15% discount levels, but they are far and few. Discounts are available on the table only, which means most people are not advertising their new lower rates. They are saying our quotes are the same. If you are interested, come, we'll talk on the table, we'll meet on the table, we'll transact. And at that time, I'm willing to tell you my best price. I don't want to advertise my low price, because I don't want to make it a distress kind of a situation. So that is the second part which I was focusing on. Rental values. Now, rental is something which is more liquid in nature. If a situation like this has happened, people are earning less in life. Either they have got salary reductions, or otherwise they've lost jobs, or otherwise for those who are in businesses, they are not able to get revenues which they were getting earlier. Those kind of people who are on rent are talking to owners, getting their rentals reduced, requesting them for reductions of anything between 10 to 20%, so that they are able to carry on in the same apartment. Otherwise, they are coming into the market and looking for newer options with the intent of downgrading. Important point here, those who understand the rental business, it's very important to understand, people typically, when they move out on rent, they tend to do an upgrade on their house, which means, let's say I'm staying in a house in Bandra, and let's say in the 2-bedroom hall, and the house is valued at, let's say, 4 crore rupees. I need a 3-bedroom hall. I need to upgrade because my family is becoming bigger. I may choose to move out on rent because I need more space, and it's difficult to buy. It's more expensive to buy, but it's far cheaper to rent. So I'm doing an upgrade at a very minuscule amount of investment, which is an extra differential rent which I need to pay, which is far more affordable to me. So that is a trend which is in the rental market. So whenever we see people taking apartments on rent, it is usually an upgrade which they are doing. But now for the first time, we are seeing people doing a downgrade. So people who are coming to see a house of, let's say, ₹1,00,000 a month, they are coming from an apartment which they were paying ₹1,25,000 or ₹1,35,000. Now they are saying, no, I've lost my job, or my salary's come down. I need to save money. So I want to downgrade my house. I'm okay for smaller size. I'm okay for a not so great building, but I don't want to spend more than ₹1,00,000 as far as my rent is concerned. So there is a downgrading which we are witnessing currently as far as rental is concerned. Buy or rent is a big question mark in most people's minds. Usually it's a big debate every time. Should I buy or should I rent? Should I buy? Should I rent? But right now, the demand which is coming in is fairly balanced. We are getting demand from buyers also. We're getting demand from renters also. And important point to note here is, pre-COVID, more demand was on rent, less demand on buy. But right now, buyers feel that the rates must have come down. So they are coming into the market to see if they can get a good deal, which is why the number of buyers who have come in the market are much more than what we had pre-COVID. I'm able to give you all this information mainly because, like I said, I'm in the real estate brokerage business. So we deal with a lot of customers, a lot of inquiries which come in on a daily, weekly kind of a basis. So at any given point of time, we have a large number of leads of inquiries which are typically renting clients and buyer clients. And we interact with both. We keep chatting with them. We keep engaging with them to get a sense of what they're thinking, how they're looking at things, what their requirements are, so on. So we are in a unique position to be able to give you a first-hand information on how the market is behaving from a buying, renting perspective, thought process, downgrading, upgrading, pricing, where it is moving. Because we are talking not only to the buyers and renters, we are also talking to sellers and developers. So we kind of get a sense of how they are thinking, how much in distress they are, how much desperate they are to sell, or whether they want to hold on and they want to wait and watch and stuff like that. So this is to give you a true sense of the actual feel of the market. Moving to the next part of this, basically. Just give me a second. So standalone or gated. I'm sure all of you all have seen a lot of gated complexes. So developers like Lodha, Oberoi, Kalpataru, many of these make some very nice, beautiful buildings. Some of you all might be staying in many of these buildings. These buildings come with some really good amenities, and and many customers or many people have been preferring to stay in gated communities rather than standalone buildings. Depending on location to location, the Bandra, Khar, Santa Cruz don't have too many gated complexes, whereas places like Andheri, Goregaon, Jogeshwari, New Bombay, etc. have a lot of gated complexes. But in the last few years, we've seen a very good kind of a tilt or a preference towards gated complex buildings. However, that is changing a bit now. The reason being that the way a pandemic like COVID-19 has been handled for a gated complex building vis-a-vis the way it has been handled for a standalone building is very different. And gated complex buildings come with a lot of precautions, a lot of do's and don'ts, a lot of you can't move out, you can't do this, you need to inform in advance, you need to send email, which is kind of frustrated people, affected their freedom, affected their movement. All these things are not so much a part of standalone buildings, which are far more flexible because number of people are lesser in that building. So after seeing a very visible trend of people's preferences of moving towards gated complexes, we are now seeing a reverse of that, and we are seeing a lot of people saying, I don't want to stay in a gated complex, because if something like this happens again, not only am I exposed to more number of people in the building, but also my movement and my freedom gets affected. So this is an important thing which is coming out, which as a result of this COVID-19 experience. Ready versus under construction. Most people are preferring ready. Nobody wants to take a risk with under construction properties. The reason, and the big reason, being predictability. With under construction, it was always unpredictable in terms of when it will get constructed and completed. A lot of developers have been under stress with regards to their money and their funds. Now they have another thing to kind of tackle, which is labor issues. Many developers have seen a lot of their labor go back to their villages as a part of the migrant issue which we all face, and they are not very sure when these guys will come back. Even if a developer is strong and is having access to funds, but he may not be in a position to bring or attract back his labor, which may tend to delay under construction projects, which is why most buyers are preferring ready projects compared to under construction projects. So that's a strong trend which is coming in. It already was strong, now it's becoming even much more stronger in terms of the preference of ready. NRI focus. This is very interesting for you guys. So NRIs have been big participants in the real estate business and the real estate industry in India. A lot of NRIs have invested in real estate in India. It is a mix between office as well as residential properties. Many NRIs have been investing in the Lodhas and the Oberois and the Rostamji kind of projects, and they eventually put it on rent when the project gets ready. But for the last year or 2 years, this interest had kind of reduced because of various reasons. One strong reason being compliance levels have increased, and NRIs were not finding it very easy to do the transaction. Also, the currency levels were not very conducive for making such investments. However, with the rupee to dollar ratio now in the range of approximately 75, NRIs have again started looking at real estate with a renewed kind of an interest. The other factor which is affecting this is the way India has handled COVID-19, and they find India to be a much more stable country compared to, let's say, the US and many other countries in the way it has handled a pandemic of this sort. So they feel that stability of their investments, stability of their assets is far better in India, and which is why we are seeing a renewed interest from the NRI community as far as real estate investments are concerned. So that brings us to this golden question: is it a good time to buy? I think the answer is yes, yes, and yes. The other important point which affects this is the fact that home loans are coming down as far as their interest rates are concerned. from an average of approximately 8.5 to 9%. They are now in the range of 7 to 7.5% approximately. There are certain issues with banks in terms of disbursements which are not yet happening, but the rates are coming down and they will go down even further. This makes it much more appealing for any person to buy a home. If your interest rate is going to be cheaper, your overall cost is becoming lesser, this is definitely a great time to buy. This was a broad summary as far as the residential market is concerned. I'm moving to the next slide. I see 2-3 questions which have already come in on the chat, and I would like to encourage you guys to put in more questions so that we can answer these at the end of this. Moving forward, we have another slide which is focused now towards commercial real estate. A couple of points again are similar in terms of the topics under discussion. Umar, just a quick one. I'm audible and I'm you guys are able to hear clearly right now, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. And my pace is okay, or would you want?
Yeah. It is absolutely fine.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
So residential is residential. Residential is your home. Residential is where you stay. Residential is where you're, something which you're using. Commercial is very different. Commercial is used for your business. Business is down. Most businesses are not running. Some of them which are running at very, very low capacities. The way it works for commercial is very different than the way it works for residential. Because companies are not able to function, because factories are running at low capacities, because offices are closed or running with very, very less capacities, demand is extremely low. Most companies are restructuring. Like I said a little earlier, work from home is being looked at extremely, extremely seriously. How can you restructure your office? How can you work? How can you run your organization with lesser people coming to office? If out of 100 people coming to my office, I can manage my business with only 50 people coming to office, then I tend to save money by lesser usage of space. And all those 50 people who come to office, they consume electricity by way of air conditioning, they consume tea, coffee, and so many other things which go in terms of servicing those people. All my costs reduce as far as that is concerned if lesser number of people are coming. So this aspect is being looked at very seriously by a lot of companies. And I feel that in the next few months, in the next few years, a lot of companies will restructure in the way they operate their business. While work from home being a new concept and a lot of people are excited about that, there are a lot of pros and cons to the whole thing. Many people who have been working from home initially said, oh yeah, man, I'm able to work fine and all of that. But now there is an increased amount of frustration which is happening. Many people are reporting that, look, man, I managed 2 or 3 months, but I can't take it anymore. I need to work out of an office. I need to get out of home. I can't see my family the whole day. And I get disturbed by my son or my daughter. And, my house is small and there's too much of noise. And there are a lot of issues with work from home as such. Social interaction, which happens when you're going to office, meeting people, talking, chatting, etc., is not happening from work from home. While it is okay from a short-term perspective, but from a long-term perspective, this helps to keep your sanity in place. It helps to keep and grow you as a person. So these aspects are now being looked at, and work from home. I think a model which will eventually come in will be a mix of pure work from home and something which will be required to come to office for some time also. So coming to that, demand is low, companies are restructuring, and I see challenging times ahead as far as commercial properties are concerned. Capital values, there is no price crash again. There is price correction 5 to 10%, but moving forward, this correction will increase. With residential, I mentioned it may not increase because it is a home, people need homes. With commercial properties, the price correction which has happened in the range of 5 to 10%, but it will increase. This is because many companies, when they actually vacate their office spaces, you will see a lot of vacancy levels coming in. And once that vacancy levels are very visible, then at that point of time, the price correction will increase. We may see it going to 20%, 25%, don't know, but it will increase over a period of time. Rental values, rentals are reducing. Companies are evaluating WFH, which is work from home. Companies are reducing their staff. Is commercial good as an investment? The answer is not good as of now for the next 12 months at least. This is because most companies reducing size, so we don't know what is the right value of tomorrow. So if a property is priced at, let's say, 100 rupees, with lack of demand, it may move to a 90, it may move to an 80, but that is not yet, we are not yet able to gauge whether it is 90 or 80. Only after the next 3, 6, 9 months will we be able to gauge, and that purchase point of 80 rupees might be a good time to invest, because from there on it may see an upsurge eventually. So not good for the next 12 months, but it will rebound later. Hence, it is good for the long term. So if somebody is giving a property of 100 rupees as an example at 80 rupees today or at 75 rupees, yes, it should definitely be considered. Retail properties are very badly hit as far as COVID is concerned. They may take over a year to recover. So I have some clients who run retail businesses. For example, you must have heard of Regal Shoes. So they're clients of mine. They have bought 54 stores all over. Anita Dongre, again, 25, 30 stores all over. So there are these Spiker jeans. And so these are clients. They've got multiple stores all over. All of these stores have been closed. And now once they open up, they again come back to business. It's going to be difficult because they don't anticipate customers coming in like the way they used to come earlier. So they're anticipating sales probably 30%, 40% of what it was there earlier. And these are big concerns. So they will not be able to pay rents of lakhs of rupees for their stores. And some of these stores are in very expensive malls like Palladium, Oberoi, etc. So these are big concerns that they're talking to their retail, their landlords and their mall partners to see how they can work around this, so that, because their incomes are coming from sales, and if sales don't happen because people don't come, then they are not able to earn revenues. They can't pay rent from their own pockets. So this is a very, very big concern area, retail properties. Hospitality, again, badly hit. Hospitality is hotels, service apartments, and so on. Very badly hit. No one is able to take any bookings. All hotels are lying empty. Some of them have been covered or converted rather as COVID isolation centers. That's not making any great income for them. So these are, again, concern areas for the industry, basically. NRI focus is good, has been good as far as commercial properties are concerned, and it is expected to stay good. This is because commercial properties give a rental return of 7 to 9% approximately, vis-a-vis residential, which gives about 2 to 3% return. So a lot of NRIs have been preferring to buy commercial. There will be a small blip which we see as far as the demand is concerned, but eventually NRIs will continue to prefer buying commercial properties because of the high ROI which comes with commercial properties. Is it a time to buy? Yes, yes, yes. It is, but not right now. After, let's say, about 12 months or so, approximately, is when we should look at that. So, guys, this was a little brief on the market trends, which was which is what I wanted to give you a sense of what's really happening in the market. How has COVID really affected the market? So now, I mean, you guys are students, you guys are studying, you guys will be a part of the industry, whichever industry it may be, very soon in the coming future. Obviously for you all, this is something which is unprecedented, and you guys must be having a lot of thoughts in your mind. I mean, I'm actually thinking that I'm actually starting a career at the time when things are the worst. But it really helps to really look ahead and see what does the future look like? How will things really shape up? And when you speak to people from the industry, it gives you a glimpse, it gives you a little foresight on how things may shape up. What is it that will revive faster? What is it that will take time? And when you are able to get that kind of a glimpse, it will help you plan your future and your career in a little better manner, because you're able to really forecast and see how things will be eventually. So the question is that, what does the future really look like? And I'd like to give you some sort of a glimpse as far as that is concerned too. So important thing for you guys, to make it big, you need to look beyond the obvious. The real estate industry for most of you all, or for most of us, is typically developing buildings and buyers and sellers and renters. But like I said earlier, it's not only that, there's a lot which makes this industry. And there are those niches and pockets, and there are those areas which uh, which are well insulated from all of this which is happening, and there are those areas which are expected to grow much more as a result of COVID. There are those areas which are expected to grow much more because of the futuristic technologies that they are expected to use. So how can you get a glimpse of all of that so that you are able to say, okay, I don't want to do the typical conventional real estate career. I mean, what is the conventional real estate career? You might be aware, there are a lot of developers and there are a lot of broking firms like a JLL and a Rock, which come to MBA institutes and recruit people. And that's a conventional sales or a marketing profile or a transaction profile, which most people end up doing. But that's the regular stuff which everybody takes up. But what is that different profile? What is that different career which you can take up, which is futuristic in nature, which can really take you ahead by 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? That is what you need to think. That is because you are in that position to think in that manner. So you need to look beyond the obvious, and that is an important point I'd like to suggest to you. And that's where we are coming to. So there is a conventional way of looking at things, and there are sectors which are the sunrise sectors in the industry. These are sectors which are a little newish in nature, but they will become very, very big in the future. And if you are able to get a grip on these sectors at an early stage, then you get that first mover advantage, or you get a little push right from the beginning. And my intent was to highlight some of these sectors. There may be more, but the intent was to highlight some of these sectors so that you are able to start thinking in today's times itself in these areas. You may not be aware of these because we, being a part of the industry, we are able to spot these earlier on. But once I run through some of these, I would like you to ponder and think and give some time. And of course, you guys are most welcome to come back to me if you want more help and assistance and knowledge on any of these. But that was my intent on basically giving you a peek into the future. I'm moving to the next slide to give you a sense of that. So the sunrise sectors are broadly divided into 2-3 areas. And like I said, there are more, but I mean, it may take some more time to really cover a lot of that. So the first area is property as an investment. Now, real estate, like I said in one of my earlier points which I was making, so there is, people buy real estate to use and people buy real estate to invest. And real estate as an investment is almost as big as real estate for personal usage. It's a very, very big sector of the market. And this area, which is about investment, is been changing. So in the earlier days, people used to buy a residential flat, hold on for 1 year, 2 years, sell it and make their money. But that's not happening anymore, because you can't make money by buying a flat and selling it. You can't make money by buying an office and selling it after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So there are different ways of making money. One of the new age business models which are emerging out is that of fractional investments. So what is fractional investments? So there are companies there is a company which is formed. That company invests in a real estate asset. That real estate asset is generating rental income. And that income which is coming is usually in the range of 8 to 10%, because it's a commercial property that these usually invest into. By virtue of getting a return of 8 to 10%, that return is then passed on to the investor. Now, usually it's one investor, but now with real estate values being very high, so what companies are doing is they are setting up an individual SPV. That SPV will buy a real estate asset, which is a larger real estate asset, let's say for 10 crore rupees, 20 crore rupees, 30 crore rupees. And in that SPV, they have people who come in with smaller investments. This allows a small investor to put his money and be part of a bigger story. This allows a small investor to participate in the real estate investment model and make his money. So I'll give you an example. There's a company by the name of Strata, S-T-R-A-T-A. Look them up on the internet. And there is an opportunity which they are currently working on. In fact, my company has a tie-up with them. We are one of their channel partners.
Make her talk to me first and then make her talk to him.
Muhammad Ali, switch off your audio, please.
तुम्हारी मम्मा को लगा मैं मम्मी से बात करूं.
Keep my phone with you.
खड़े रहो ना 1 मिनट.
I'm sorry, Ajay.
No problem, not at all.
Give.
Yeah. So there is a company by the name of Strata, and you can look them up. They're currently investing in a warehouse. That warehouse is worth 50 crore rupees, and they are seeking investors who need to come with 25 lakh rupees. Let's say 50 investors decide somebody's putting in 25 lakh rupees, somebody's putting 1 crore rupees, somebody's putting 50 lakh rupees.
Geet, you have Muhammad Ali's number on you, Sana?
Just calling him right now.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, Ajay.
So you have individual investors putting in smaller sums of money, 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore,
Yes,
and by virtue of putting that money, they get access to this very good transaction. This transaction is a pre-structured transaction where a company by the name of Stellar, which is one of India's largest third-party logistic providers, are taking up that warehouse. They will be paying a certain amount of rent, and the SPV company will buy the warehouse. So let's say ABC is the company. ABC buys the warehouse. Stellar is paying rent to ABC, and that rent works to a return of approximately 10 to 11%. Now, being an asset of 50 crore rupees, not everybody is able to purchase or afford this. And in today's market, people are, fearful of putting a large amount of money. So what they've done, they've created the SPV. I decide to put in 25, you decide to put in 25, somebody's putting in 50 lakh rupees. It becomes 50 crore rupees as an amalgamated amount. And that purchases the asset. Each person who is a part of this company becomes a shareholder, and that return which is coming gets passed on to each of these investors. This model is a very, very popular model in the US and in Europe and some other countries. In India, it got started about 4 years back and is picking up very, very fast in the current times. In the last year itself, there are about 4 or 5 companies which have started this, and there are most kind of coming in almost every month now. So new companies are starting on this, and it is now finally become a good structured model of operating. And this, in my view, is going to be a very, very strong futuristic model of operation as far as India is also concerned. It is very similar to REITs, and you guys must have heard of REITs, which is the second one which I'm talking about. And I don't know how many of you all know about REITs, but very, very quickly I'll tell you, REITs works like a mutual fund. It's like a mutual fund which is set up. That mutual fund invests only in real estate properties. They divide their investments over residential, hospitality, commercial, mall, under construction ready kind of properties. And these are properties which are income generating properties. That income which comes in when the REIT gets listed, so the investors who are investing in the REIT, they get returns as per the investments done by the REIT. The big difference between fractional investment and REITs is that in REITs, we are investing into the fund. That fund is a broad fund which has got the right to invest further on in any property or multiple properties. But as an investor, I don't come to know where they are investing, or I don't have the right to ask, or they don't need to ask me, sir, we are going to be putting in, let's say, a Lodha property. Okay, so that's not the case. I am putting it in the fund. It's in full trust that the fund will do well. And once they do well, I get my money. Whereas in the case of fractional investment, I know what exactly the money is going to be used for. It is going to be put in asset number X, and that asset is, it's known in advance what the income which is expected to get generated from that asset. So it's a very transparent model compared to REIT, which is a bit opaque in nature. These two are newer business models. They are new age business models, and they are finding a lot of interest from the investor community which likes to invest in real estate. The third one mentioned over here is an alternate asset class, which is similar to both of these. And these are typically models which are investments in pre-leased properties, just like the first one I mentioned, and in timeshare models. What is a timeshare model? Timeshare model is again a model where multiple people invest together in a real estate property, where external people are allowed to use that property, and by virtue of usage you earn rent, and that rent is then passed on eventually. So you must have heard of Mahindra Timeshare, and there are a couple of large companies which work in this model. It's a fairly oldish kind of a model. These kind of models which are sharing models, these kind of models which are fractional investment kind of models, are sunrise sectors as far as property as an investment is concerned. This is the next category which I'd like to focus on: innovative housing schemes. So typically you must have seen, as far as the markets are concerned, a developer makes a building and people come, they buy. Uh, that's how it's been for last many decades. From there to the concept of gated communities started, and a developer used to build a larger sector with some clubhouse facilities and stuff like that. Now that model is getting mature and mature and more mature, and most developers are now wanting to build for specific communities. In these, as a part of this, student homes has been an area of interest to a lot of developers, and there has been a lot of work which has been happening in this. In Bombay, we don't see too much of this, but in places like Bangalore, in places which are student cities like Pune and so on, there are developers who are building specifically to host and to service the student community. So they will make a building, they'll bring in amenities which are specifically directed towards students. Students come, they use, they pay rents, and for the time that they're doing the course, they are using the facilities. These are typically smaller homes, not very largish homes. They are not luxurious by nature, they are very basic homes, but they give a higher return on investment to the developer because it is focused to that specific community. These are again homes which are they are very focused towards services for that particular community. In the same way, there are senior citizen homes which a lot of people have been, what a lot of developers have been focusing on. The average age of India has been increasing, and very soon in the next 20-30 years we'll have average of 65-70 years in terms of the average age. And developers are looking at creating senior citizen homes where people who have achieved or reached their twilight age are able to use these homes and live a comfortable life because of the way things are moving, with a lot of children not having time for their parents and so on. Wellness, healthcare, social infrastructure services again become a focus. It's not only the home over there. It's about how you ensure you take care of the senior citizen. It's about how you ensure the best possible healthcare is being given to the senior citizen. All of these form a part of the package, and the real estate part is a smaller component, but the entire packaging is much larger, making it a revenue generation model for the developer. This one on the left of the screen is the migrant home. And with migrants having returned back to their villages, now wanting to come back and so on, this has become the latest and the newest talk in town in terms of for developers. They are now wanting to create specific housing for migrants. Right now, I'm sure all of us know, most migrants stay in the slum sector. There was a slum rehousing or some redevelopment scheme which the government had already floated, but it's a big failure. In the last 15 years, hardly about 10% of slums have got rehoused. The rest, 90%, have in fact become even much more bigger, unfortunately. So migrant homes is something which a lot of developers are looking. In fact, there are some proposals which are going to the government to allow developers to create homes for migrants, to be able to house them in the right manner, so that they are able to service a city like Bombay, which which is very dependent on migrants to that extent. So once again, these three areas are sunrise sectors. These are areas which have not yet achieved maturity. They are growing sectors. They are new age business models. They are models where real estate is getting coupled with services and with newer concepts, making it a very interesting kind of a model. In innovative housing schemes, that was one category, which is group housing, which I was talking about. Now this is another category, which is typically in urban areas or in cities, which you can see. So developers are making specific homes. I'm sure all of you all know of Airbnb, where you can take a house on rent for right from a week to a month. And so developers want to make homes for Airbnb kind of a model where people can come and stay for a week to 10 days to 15 days to 20 days. The home will be equipped with all kinds of services. And so it's like a hotel to that extent, but it does not have the glam quotient associated with the hotel. And it's more homely. It comes with a bit of a maid service and some breakfast and stuff like that. And so it's more like a service home to that extent. So this is an area of a lot of interest for a lot of developers. In fact, there are a lot of developers who are wanting to convert their unsold inventory of their building, which has got ready. So let's say a developer made something in Mulund, 100 homes, out of which 20 are unsold and market is down, it's not selling. They want to convert these to Airbnb homes. They want to rent them out on a weekly basis, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 10 weeks, and stuff like that, to be able to derive revenues from them. And usually revenues from an Airbnb concept is much higher than a typical rental model. So this is a model which a lot of them are wanting to focus, and which helps them to increase revenues, also helps to provide a good amount of service and a good amount of value proposition to the end user who is going to be using this. Service apartments is very similar, but service apartments typically are for longer stays compared to Airbnb kind of a model, which is for shorter stays. So that's another model which is a very innovative housing scheme. Co-living. Co-living is again, this is a very, very new concept. It's very popular abroad. It's kind of coming into India. Typically a larger house with multiple people staying within the same house, having a common recreation or a common area like a living room, but with their own rooms. So this model is popular with the youth. It focuses on social interactions. The developer or the owner provides a lot of services along with that. And this model is gaining a lot of popularity across the world currently. All three are very similar in nature, yet very different in terms of the target audience that they're seeking and the tenure of the usage which each one of is seeking. But this area is extremely popular right now and gaining in popularity, in fact. So guys, very, very important for y'all. The next slide is going to move towards technology, and I wanted to put a focus to all of you in terms of how technology is going to be very important in whatever. I mean, today we're talking of real estate, but some of you guys may be interested in other, I mean, maybe let's say pharma or marketing or FMCG, whatever. In whatever you do, technology is going to be extremely important. Our future is going to be completely tech enabled. We will not use technology, we will live technology. I think a lot of you all already know that, but I want to re-stress on this. And all of you guys need to be masters in understanding technology, because whatever you do, it's going to be it's going to be the nerve, it's going to be the basic thing which you need. So amalgamation of technology with processes is typically prop tech as far as real estate is concerned. And there are a lot of companies and a lot of business models coming in which amalgamate technology with the process in the real estate business. And these businesses or these models are also sunrise sectors, and I'll take you through them right now. Digital marketing is a very broad aspect, and it is being used in a very, very big way as far as real estate is concerned. Developers use digital marketing in a very strong manner to be able to target their target audience in the right manner, to be able to generate leads from via digital marketing. And without digital marketing, they are not able to achieve the kind of sales. So it's become a core part of their marketing activity. The amount of money they are spending on digital marketing has now started crossing all their other media which they are doing. So digital marketing, as far as PropTech is concerned, is a very important sector which you can focus on. In fact, I know of many students who have completed their education, completed a good digital marketing course, and are able to work with digital agencies or with developers as far as their marketing teams are concerned. And they're doing some great stuff as far as digital marketing is concerned. Virtual reality and 3D mapping. So with COVID having struck all of us, Just give me a second, please. अजय इनसे बात करना. मैं बात नहीं कर सकता. With COVID having struck all of us, moving out of homes has become extremely difficult. So developers have done a very smart thing. They've converted their show apartments. They've created a detailed walkthrough of their entire project, and they are offering it as a virtual reality or a 3D kind of a software. You click a button and you are able to actually experience the entire project as if you're walking into the actual space. So there are various technologies which enable you to do this. Virtual walkthroughs, 3D experiences, interactive navigation. You can click a button to go through the kitchen. You can do what you want, and these are very interesting technologies which are there. These technologies are expected to grow even further and integrate into the entire marketing activity of the developer. And I've been talking to a few developers, and they are saying that from now and for the future, they will create a system that when there is a lead generated, as a mandatory step, they want the customer to go through the virtual walkthrough before he reaches the particular project. This will help them filter the client and waste less time on people who are not really interested. Otherwise, let's say 100 people come to a project, they've got to put 10 people on the job, sabko dikhao, and then half of them go away. So rather show them something which is already available on the screen. And if the guy likes it, then only you come, I'll spend my time and show you everything. So these are again interesting technologies which are growing and which are becoming a very integral part of real estate. Data analytics, I think data analytics is a part of most businesses in today. There are interesting companies which are doing some interesting stuff here. There are companies which have which are connected to the registrar's data. So every agreement which gets registered in the entire country, they have downloaded the entire data, and they have run various software, and through artificial intelligence, they are able to bring you in interesting amount of information. As an example, let's say BKC has a building called the Capital. I can actually go on to their software and I can see in the Capital building how many offices are there. Let's say 100 offices. In 100 offices, I can actually see which agreements have got signed in this particular year, which have got signed last year. I can see the rent of every transaction which has got done. I can see the term. I can see the lock-in period. Let's say one of the offices taken by Facebook. I can click on Facebook and see which are the other offices which Facebook has got in Bangalore, Hyderabad, wherever it may be. I can see the rent of those. I can see the term of those. I can see the lock-in. All this information is available to me at the click of a button on my computer. This was not available ever before, and it was a big challenge to know what is the actual transaction value at which transactions are happening in a building like Capital or in a building like 1BKC or whatever it may be. This information is available today. It helps a lot when deciding what is happening in the market, what are trends, and what are the numbers which people are doing. These are very interesting areas of our business. They are the part of the ecosystem which I discussed earlier, and these are areas which are expected to grow much more. I think I'm running a bit short on time, so this couple of slides I'll move on a little faster now. Again, in PropTech, there are technologies and there are businesses and companies which are focusing on digitizing processes. You must have heard of LiveSpace over here. LiveSpace is a company which works like an urban ladder in some way or the other. You can go on their website, you can give them your floor plan of your home, and you can, through their innovative software, design your own home directly from their software, and it will give you a lot of options of furniture which fit into your home as per the sizing of your home. So it's a very interesting thing. For the last many years, if I have to design my home, I have to go at an architect, I have to pay the architect his fees. He will design something, show me, then we have to go into the market to see what's available. Then what we've seen, he will show me in some way or the other. Half the time we need to imagine something on our own only. But LiveSpace has a software which does everything on your laptop. You don't need to go anywhere. Everything is available at the drop of your hand. Similarly, there is a company like PropStack, which does what I just told you a few minutes back. And there is Bixby. Bixby is a very, very nice, interesting software. It is a software which helps you manage relationship between owners and tenants. So let's say I've rented my place and I've rented it to Mr. Ravi, and Ravi is my tenant. Now, when I rent my place to a Mr. Ravi and Ravi is my tenant for the next year, there's a 3-year relationship which needs to be managed. When I'm managing a 3-year relationship, there are multiple things which come all along those 3 years, right from the monthly rents which need to be paid, sometimes maintenance, sometimes something is going wrong, sometimes he is repairing something on my behalf, I need to pay him back. All of this gets very, very smoothly managed by an app called as Bixby. And there are various such apps like these. In fact, very interestingly, I'd like to share with you that the company by the name of Multi Living, this company is formed by one of the owners of the Lodha Group. It's a startup which is being funded by them. What they're doing is basically they are tying up with various owners who own apartments in, let's say, Kanakya, Paris, and Ruston the Seasons and all that. And they are offering an app. And through the app, so when I take an apartment in Ruston the Seasons, if I sign up with them, through the app, I am able to monitor, I'm able to engage services of a maid, a plumber, electrician, internet, whatever I need through the app, everything is available. I'm able to monitor everything. I have access to who's coming and coming in, going out at what times. I have access to a lot of stuff which happens through the app. So this app is going to be a management app of my own house, which I've taken on rent. It also helps me manage my tenant relationship with my landlord. These kind of companies are gaining a lot of prominence and are becoming very, very a part of our daily things. And these are areas which you guys can really focus on, because these are things which will take you to the next level. Innovative constructions, which is the next point here. New sustainable materials are being discovered. There is a product which has been invented which looks like wood but is not wood. Wood, for example, it is becoming more and more scarce because you need to cut it out of the forest. And there are a lot of people who are trying to create products which look like wood. So there are these products which are there which look like wood. You can actually polish them, you can cut them the way you want them, but it's not wood. So it's more sustainable, it's more eco-friendly, it's more organic in nature. And similar to this, there are other products which are being created which allow faster construction, much more efficient. They are more environment friendly. They are much more sustainable. And there are companies which are focusing towards these areas. Again, these are products which will take you further in the line. Many years back, buildings were made of bricks. Buildings are not made of bricks anymore. The product which is used instead of bricks is called Ciporex. It's a gray colored larger tile. Because it's larger, it allows you to complete it much faster. You need only 100 Ciporex tiles instead of 500 bricks. Similarly, these newer materials will replace the existing ones, and these are the ones which you take you forward from here on. IoT, that's Internet of Things, which is basically about integration of devices. So that's again a very, very key part of what's happening today in the markets. And a lot of devices are being interconnected, and your home is becoming a home which can be remotely managed. That's what this is about. And there are a lot of apps, there are a lot of software, there are a lot of interesting things which are coming in, which allows you to control homes, control offices, make it much more efficient, manage it much better. And these are areas which are really, sunrise sectors to that extent. So guys, very important here. Old ways won't open new doors. The new world demands a new you. With what we faced in the last 3 months, I think it's very, very important that we all relook at things and do things in a different manner. And my intent over here was to bring focus and give you some sort of a glimpse to areas which you probably not been exposed to that greater extent, because most people see real estate as a building and office and residential and so on. So this is to encourage you and to push you guys towards thinking different, towards thinking new, and towards thinking something which can actually take you further for the next decade or two, rather than giving you just that next 3 to 4 years. That's the idea of what I wanted to present to you guys today. So coming to the golden question, real estate, is it a good career option? I genuinely think the answer is yes. And Why is it yes? Is because I'll just come to the next slide on that one. I'm sorry. Why is it a good industry to be in? It's a beautiful industry. It's a large industry. It's got so much to it. It is amongst the largest contributor to the GDP. It's amongst the largest job creators. It's a very wide industry. You can, I mean, you may be a finance professional and you've got so much to do as far as real estate is concerned. You may be a marketing guy. You may be an operations guy. You may be whatever. You may be a creative person. You can still be a part of the real estate industry as far as doing interiors or as far as digital marketing and creative stuff is concerned. It's got a lot to offer for anyone, which is what I really like about this industry. It's got its own glam quotient. So for example, like I typically deal with a lot of luxury homes. So I have a lot of clients who are celebrities, and those who work with good quality developers or those who work with luxury developments will end up meeting many sports personalities, Bollywood personalities, and very, very well-known people, which gives you a good feel that I am interacting with a good level, a good kind of a level of people. I interact with MDs of people, MDs of companies, CEOs, business owners, a lot of these people, which helps me grow as a person, think bigger in life, and helps me in a lot of ways, basically. So it's got a good glam quotient to that extent. This is, I mean, I would just compare it with any other industry to say, let's say you're a part of the tire industry. I mean, the tire industry is a very, very niche industry. It's got nothing to talk about. But as far as the real estate industry is concerned, I mean, every second person I meet has something to talk about, has something to discuss with me, has something to ask me, which is what makes me feel good that I'm a part of an industry which is connected to every single person I know. That's not the case with the FMCG industry or the tire industry, or maybe let's say of the wall industry, or there are all these niche engineering or various kind of industries which don't affect the others, but the real estate industry affects everyone, which makes you feel that I'm helping people in a lot of ways. It's got amazing growth potential. It offers something for everyone. So that's why I really feel this is something which you guys should take seriously. Yes, it's got its challenges. Yes, there's been tough times that we've seen. But like I said, there are a lot of sunrise sectors. There are a lot of areas which you can definitely focus on and be a part of this. I move to the last slide on this one. I wish you best of luck, and let's take the questions now. Umar,
Yes, Ajay.
I'm just opening the chat box. Okay, so guys, I think we have got 5-6 questions or so. If anybody would like to add on to that, you're most welcome. How does RERA Act help a buyer? This is the first question from Mohammed. Very good question. The RERA Act is basically an act and a regulation which is primarily and focused only to the buyer. It is an act which protects the buyer to a very large extent. It puts a lot of restrictions and a lot of compliances on the real estate developer. It allows a lot of transparency to the buyer. Whatever the real estate developer is doing, he needs to keep informing, he needs to keep uploading on the RERA website, and everything is available easily to a buyer or anybody else. So I'll give you a case and example earlier and now. 4 years back, 5 years back, if a developer was making a development, let's say making a building in Bandra, as a buyer, if I meet the developer, he will say, I have all the permissions. When we would have asked him, sir, can I see if you have all the permissions? He would say, no, you cannot. First, you close your deal, finalize your deal, give me a token, then I will show. Now, what happens for a person to reach the stage where he's finalizing and giving his token? There are a lot of meetings, discussions, mental, stuff which happens. After that, if you've done that, then he will show whatever is available. At that point of time, some money has already got exchanged, and I've already kind of parted with some of that. at that point of time, if I find a mistake in that, I'm not able to back out so easily. So RERA allows me in today's times to go online, search for the developer and the development, and see online whatever is available with him. He has to upload his title documents. He has to upload his agreements online itself. I can do a research. I can do a checking online itself before deciding whether I want to meet that guy or the developer or the salesperson and finalize or not. So that is what RERA is giving. For cases where people have bought something with a developer and the developer has not adhered to what his promises were, RERA allows the buyer to even take the developer to task. He can file a case with RERA informing what the developer has defaulted on, and the RERA tribunal. So there is a court which is set up by RERA which takes it up. It's a fast moving court. It's not a court which takes years and years. It it moves extremely fast. Usually the result or the decision for something that you file in the RERA court comes within 3 to 6 months at best, which is extremely fast in today's times. So that also protects the developer, the buyer, I'm sorry. If I have an issue with the developer, he's not delivered to me, or if he's delivered not what he promised, I can actually show my agreement. This is what was discussed. This is what is written down. These are my interactions. I can file a case. The RERA court will call the developer. They will hear his side of the story. There may be another hearing, and that's it. And you get a decision. That's what RERA does. I hope I've answered the question fairly in detail. I'll move to the next one.
So, hello, Jay sir.
Yeah.
So, I just want to add one thing to that question. During this lockdown, has there been any relaxation given to the developer because of the lockdown? So, like, if a developer has said that I will give you a flat, let's say in March, but he has not able to uphold that promise to the buyer. So, is there any relaxation which has been given to the developer during this lockdown period by the government?
Yes, developers have actually, so there are associations of developers. There is something called as MCHI. There's something called as CREDI. These are associations of developers. They are the voice of the developer community to the government. So MCHI, CREDI, and NAREDCO, there are three such associations which are there. They have basically come forward and connected to the government and said that, look, we are not in a position to continue our construction. Our construction is stopped. Labor is gone. The for the time the lockdown exists, you need to extend our timeline. So if I as a developer had committed that by December 2020 I will give you possession, and I have lost these 3 months, I cannot be expected to complete by 2020 December. In fact, if I've lost 3 months, does not mean I can give you by March, because when things resume, the migrant labor will take time to come back. My funds, which were in a certain kind of a cycle, will take some time to get back to normal. So if I've lost those 3 months, I don't need 3 months more. I need 6 months more. So they actually applied to the government to say that give us 1 year extension by default for every project. The government did not agree. They gave an extension of 6 months. The developer community has gone back again, saying that 6 months is not enough because the lockdown may have ended, but the effects of that are still happening. So you need to increase it to 12 months. I'm not too sure, but I think I'd heard that 6 months is becoming 9 months. I'm not too sure whether it's really got passed or not. So to answer your question, yes, there is an extension which is got allowed.
Thank you, sir.
Can I move to the next one? Can you please highlight the scope of an individual freelancing broker, if something like that is possible? Can you please highlight the legality, licenses, loopholes, tax cuts that one has to face in the industry? Okay, I think these are two separate questions. I'll take the first one. This is from Abhinav. So Abhinav, as far as the broking industry is concerned, there are three types of three categories. There is an individual broker who works. There is a small broking firm like something which I operate. I have a team size of 8 people. There is a larger broking firm like what you must have heard called JLL, Knight Frank, CBRE, and so on. So these are three different types of agencies. And there were days earlier where, brokers were brokers in the sense most were individual brokers. But in today's time, what is happening is that the expectation from a customer has gone up much more. So it's becoming more and more difficult for an individual freelancing broker to be able to service a customer and keep him satisfied. Most often than not, I know a lot of people who are single individual brokers, but they are not able to retain customers, or they are not able to do repeated business, because for a single person to do property sourcing, relationship management with owners, uh, advertising and marketing on various portals, etc., inspections, documentation, agreements, legalities, possession, all of these things which are usually the scope of work for a real estate broker, it's very difficult for a single guy to really manage. Yet there are a lot of single people, but what I've noticed in the last few years that the quantum of business which they are able to handle is kind of reducing. It is moving from a single person to a teamwork kind of a model. You need to be 2 to 3 people together at least to be able to service a customer in a proper manner. So there would be one person who's a servicing guy. There's one person who's a marketing guy. There's one person who's a little legal in terms of the understanding and documentation and all of that. You need to have a team in place. So I would really recommend. The future is all about teamwork. The future is all about working as a group, as a team. And individual freelancing, I think moving forward may not really see great kind of scope as such. You mentioned, can you please highlight the legality licenses? So as a real estate broker, only if you are operating in under construction properties which are covered under RERA, you need to take a RERA license. If you're not operating in under construction property, which means if you're servicing the resale market, or if you're doing only rental transactions, then as of now, RERA is not covering that and you don't need any license as of now. However, if you cross more than 20 lakh rupees in terms of your income, then you need to sign up and take a GST number. And then further on, whatever billing you do, you need to add GST to that. So that's the legalities or the compliances which are required as such.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, most welcome. Dear sir, how can we find true value of a property in any area or states? Very nice, interesting question. So, in the last few years, it was very, very difficult, and the best way to find the value would have been in that local area. You call 4 or 5 real estate brokers, you check with them, and they, being brokers in that local area, they will give you some sort of a number. Somebody will say 100, somebody will say 105, somebody will say 95, and then you get a sense, iski value itni honi chahiye. That was the only way to find the value. But in today's times, there are various ways actually. Besides checking with real estate local brokers, you can actually go online. Portals like Magic Bricks, 99 Acres, you search for the property or the building, you will find some listings over there. You get a sense of what the quotes are for that building or the property. In fact, with many of these sites, they even give you a graphical historical analysis in terms of today, if there is an apartment at, let's say, 1 crore rupees, so they give you a historical analysis that 5 years back, the same apartment was at 80 lakh rupees. So you can go through the historical analysis and you are able to gauge as to what should be the price. In my presentation, there are companies like PropStack, there is a company like Zapkey, where you can even access agreements of transactions done. So if I'm staying, let's say in Borivali, in a building which is got 50 apartments, and I want to know that in my building, what was the last transaction done, I can go to that website, type the name of the building, and I will get access to the last 5 or the last 10 or the last 15 transactions which have got done. And I can purchase a copy of that agreement or the details and get to know ki transaction kitne mein hua hai. At the end of the day, at the value at which a transaction has been done is the right value, which you can say is what we can gauge. I'll move to the next one. That's Geet Rajani asking, sir, could you explain the concept of time correction in the real estate sector? Nice. So time correction is in the real estate sector is basically time correction. The concept of time correction is like this: any product or any item or anything usually sees a change in its value over a period of time. When Maruti started selling cars in India in 1984 or something, the cost of a car was 45,000 rupees. In those days, 45,000 rupees had a certain value. And in today's time, if you buy a Maruti car, you will not get it less than 3 lakh rupees. What is the difference between that 45,000 and the 3 lakh rupees? The answer is, actually speaking, there is hardly any difference, because the value of money has changed over a period of time. How has it changed? It is changed by way of inflation. There is inflation being added to the value of money over a period of time. Different products react in different ways in relation to this change of value of money. So there are certain products which are appreciating in nature. There are certain products which are depreciating in nature. A car as a product, as an asset, is a depreciating asset. If I buy it in the year 2005, and if the value of money remains the same, the value of the car is a depreciating asset and it will still come down. Whereas real estate is an appreciating asset. If I buy it in 2005, because it is an appreciating asset, typically by way of inflation, whatever value gets added, it gets added. So real estate in the years 2002 to 2008 saw a boom period where they rose anything between 5 to 10 times, which means a property of 1 crore became anything between 5 to 6 crore rupees or 7 crore rupees from 2002 to 2008. This was increasing at a value which was much, much higher than appreciation, which means it was crossing the much, much higher than the value of inflation, which means it was crossing the value of inflation, and hence you are seeing appreciation in that. Now, when we don't see appreciation over a longer duration of time, that is called stagnation. And when property value, which is actually an appreciating asset, does not appreciate and it stays the same over a period of time, that is called time correction, which means that actually the value of property has decreased, because actually this 100 should have been 105, but it is 100 only. That means I have, from 105 to 100, it has reduced, notionally speaking. This is called time correction, which means with the passage of time, the value has not changed. It means that it is actually reduced.
Correct, sir.
Did I make sense in that?
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
So my question in regard to the entire COVID-19 pandemic situation right now being, since there's a stagnation in the real estate prices and the affordability of say professionals or businessmen or something hasn't gone up because the businesses are down, is it going to have a negative impact ahead?
Yeah. So your question is that revenue for people is not increasing, affordability is not increasing, income is not increasing. Will the affordability, or will the buying power, or will the purchase power for real estate, will it be impacted or not? Am I right?
Obviously, so because of the stagnation, as the time correction is there, so they were hoping that real estate prices are stagnated while the income will increase, so affordability power will increase. But now, since COVID-19, the affordability power has decreased.
Correct.
For example, because of the scenario. So, how far is it that things can become normal?
So, see, affordability has decreased currently, and for the next year, 2 years, we are expected to see reducing affordability from this set of people who have lost jobs and who are getting reduced salaries. Okay. Now, because of that, there will be an effect on the real estate market, and that market, which is catering to this particular segment of people, will definitely have to come down to be in sync. So let's say, again, taking the example of Borivali, let's say a 1 BHK cost there, or 2 BHK cost there 1 crore rupees. Now, a typical customer of Borivali is usually a salaried person or a self-employed professional person. Now his affordability has gone down. Earlier he could afford 1 crore rupees to buy a 2 BHK, but right now he is not able to do that because his income has gone down. So he comes back to the market saying, boss, earlier I could, but now I can't. My home loan, in fact, has also gone down. So my budget is 80 lakh rupees. Now, once he comes, and when this becomes a trend with many more such people coming in, effectively what will happen, the demand of the affordability and demand of people who are able to do a 1 crore rupees for that will go lesser, and the market will have to respond to that and come down dhire dhire to be able to come to sync with that 80 lakh rupees, which is now the affordable value.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Now very this is very true for that particular segment, but there is a segment which is not affected. So the luxury segment typically, okay, where the customer was an HNI. And who is an HNI? HNI is a business owner or he's a CEO, MD level kind of a person. Very high level of salaries, 2 crore, 3 crore salaries, or a business owner where his profit every year is in a few crores. And once you accumulated that, so he's very stable in life. Now, if he's a business owner of a business which has got affected by COVID, yes, the luxury sector, I mean, again, the sink will not be there. But if he's a business owner who's not really affected, or if he's a person who has managed to accumulate wealth over a few years, it will not affect really. So I tend to service a lot of these HNI kind of customers, and I realized in the last 3 months that there is a good set of people who are not really affected as far as COVID is concerned, and they in fact became very aggressive buyers. They said we are willing to spend 10 crore rupees. Earlier, for 10 crore, we wanted a 10 crore property. Now for 10 crore, we want a 12 crore property because they feel that there aren't many like them in the market. So they are saying, get me a good deal. I'm willing to buy. I have access to money. I have access to funding. So being at that kind of a level, it did not affect their daily life. They may have suffered some business loss, but it's not affecting their daily life. They are still having appetite to invest and put in money in the real estate sector because they feel this timing is really good. You got an idea?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Um,
Excuse me, sir. May I intervene? Yeah, I'm really sorry, sir. My question was, you showed that migrant homes are a potential lucrative. Hello.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, sorry, we can finish the rest of the questions.
Abhinav, your voice is cracking. Just type the question on chat.
Oh, all right, sir.
So I'll move to the next question, then I'll come back to this while he's chatting in. Yeah. So I have Salman's question. Please explain what is gated community. Very simple, Salman. Gated community is a larger complex, typically multiple buildings being a part of the same society. They usually have common amenities like a swimming pool or a clubhouse or some sporting facilities as a part of that. I don't know where you stay, but depending on where you stay, you might have seen some developments by developers like Oda, like Rustamji, like Kalpatru, Oberoi, etc. Typically, these developers make large gated communities, and that's what gated community is all about. I'll move to the next one in the meanwhile again. Sahil is asking, which technologies are shaping up the real estate industry today? Which and how are technologies making their user experience better while checking out a property? So, Sahil, in terms of the exact technology, I mean, I'm not too sure what answer to give you, but broadly speaking, like I mentioned, virtual reality, also 3D technologies are those which are making the experience much better because the customer is able to check out and understand the project at his home before really moving out and going and seeing the property. Earlier, developers were doing videos and sharing videos. Now, what they are doing is they are making interactive videos. So within the video, you can actually click and get into a specific thing and get more details of that. So these are broad level technologies, but yes, they would be using certain software, certain kind of whether it's a Java or whatever it may be. I'm not too sure of that. I could kind of check and get back to you. Salman is saying, when will probably real estate mutual fund start in India? So the answer to that is that it is already started. It is by the name of REIT, R-E-I-T, Real Estate Investment Trust is what it stands for. And last year, the first ever REIT, which was by the Embassy Group, had got launched, and it got a very good response. Multiple people invested in that. They saw growth of I think about 25-30% in less than a year as far as that was concerned. Unfortunately, currently, because the markets are down, the REIT valuation has reduced and currently come down. But moving forward, it's a very, very good model, and it is expected to see a good, demand even in the future. There is a REIT which is expected to come by the Raheja Group very soon. Raheja Group is one of the largest landowners, and they have over approximately 30 million square feet of office space which they have rented out to various different companies, and they are converting it to a REIT in the current context, and they are intending to launch it within the next few months, and we expect that REIT also to do very, very well. Does nano and micro house concept see boost as people's salary cut due to this situation? Nice question. My personal opinion is no. I don't think so, because when we say a nano or a micro house concept, we are talking of less than 300 square feet. Uh, the government had introduced a scheme called as a slum rehabilitation scheme, where they were giving homes to the slum guys of approximately 300 square feet, and that to some extent is a nano home. Below 300 square feet is not really workable because you need some amount of space to live a life. I don't see that really as a big concept. There is a new concept being launched, being worked upon, and as we speak right now, it is by a company called as Sai Estate. They are coming up with a concept where they're saying that we will sell homes for only 10 lakh rupees. And their dream is to offer homes at a price less than a car. It is work in progress. It is a concept in the making. How they will do it is a little bit of a question mark. It's a big company and with good capable people, but it is a concept in the making. If it happens, then I think to some extent it will serve the people who are witnessing salary cuts and be of good use to them. Good afternoon, sir. I'm moving to the next question. How is the student's home any different from private student hostels being set up in and around the city? So answer is it's very similar, but in a hostel, what happens is you have individual rooms and common areas to service them. So you'll have a line of individual rooms, common passages, and a big cafeteria and a big, dormitory kind of a setup. Whereas in students' homes, you're talking of small studio apartments which are self-contained. So your apartment itself has your own bathroom and a pantry. Vis-a-vis in a hostel, that's not really the case. You don't have pantries, you have common bathrooms in a hostel. So that's a little bit of a change. Also, student homes are being created to cater to the middle and upper class. Student hostel is usually catering to the little lower class who don't really want to spend too much. That's a little bit of a difference. Next question, what is ready reckoner rate and what parameters it is decided? So ready reckoner rates are rates of land of every single part of the city and the country. So every part of this entire country has a plot name attached to it and a CTS name number attached to it. CTS stands for City Survey Number, and every plot has a number, and that number has a valuation which is put on basis of which the value of the property is calculated eventually. So let's say I am staying in a house in Borivali. The plot is in sorry, I don't know Borivali so well. Let's say I am in Andheri and my plot is in Lokhandwala complex, and Lokhandwala complex has, let's say, 105 different plots, and the plot where I am is called F185. So F185 plot number will have a valuation attached to that, and that valuation is done by the government on basis of history. So what they do is they check history कि F ये वाले plot में जो हमारे पास agreements आए थे वो क्या value पे चीजें बिक रही है, and if it's an appreciating market then they increase the valuation every year. If it's a depreciating market then they reduce that valuation on basis of history that is available with them, and that forms the number that they will put in the ready reckoner book, and it becomes like a book value. It becomes like the book value of the property. So if I am in Lokhandwala in a building called Sheffield Tower, I am staying on the 15th floor. My house is, let's say, 800 square feet. If I sell my house, I need to check the Ready Reckoner book. What is the valuation of my house as far as the Ready Reckoner value is concerned? It's the book value. So there's a way you open the book, you will go to the plot, you will go to the location, you check what's the valuation, you convert it to square footage in your building. There are certain parameters which increase or decrease the value depending on the height of the building, depending on whether there is a lift in the building or not, depending on what floor you are on. So all these parameters decide the valuation of your particular apartment, and on that basis the stamp duty of the property is then eventually paid. So that's how this concept really works. Next question is, how will digital impact the commercial side of real estate? Like, for example, with the rise of e-commerce, people will be shifting their shopping habits. So this affects physical stores and malls. Yes, that's very right. But this is, Naveed, it's not something which is very new. From the time e-commerce has really started, this has been a big debate which has been happening. And I think now it's so the shopping mall culture really started approximately in 2004, 2005, and the e-commerce culture really started somewhere around 2008, 2009 in a bigger way. And it has always been debated that with the Flipkarts and Amazons, will they really, will people stop buying from shops, or will they? But I think there's a market for both, and both tend to balance. With COVID, e-commerce has definitely gained traction and increased demand. But at the same time, once things get a little better and shops open, people will get back to shops. I think there may be a little tilt. Let's say 50 people were buying shops, 50 people were buying via e-commerce. Now it might become 60-40 because people have started getting more used to e-commerce. But that 40% of shop related business will still stay back. That's what I.
So you spoke about working from home also. So like, that also comes under digital.
Can you repeat that, please?
So working from home.
Yeah.
So that I would put that also in digital. So like say 50% of the workforce starts working from home. So like this affects the commercial real estate side of offices, like with companies cutting down on office space. So like can we say that this is a threat for physical for commercial real estate?
Amit, I was not able to hear you clearly, but I think I've got the gist of what you were saying. You're basically saying that with a lot of people moving to work from home, shopping habits may change, because if I'm a person who goes to BKC for my office, then to my office, then right from the clothes I need to purchase for myself to what I end up buying as a part of being there in BKC, I may tend to visit shops which are on that side comparatively. And now if my life changes and I'm working only from home, which is, let's say again, Goregaon, so then shopping habits may change and the business for these individual shops may change. So you're very right on that, and definitely there will be this change which will see. But what I was trying to say was that eventually a lot of things will get balanced. What may happen is that because you're working from home, while you don't go to BKC anymore, but it does not mean that everything that you need, it will come via e-commerce only. It will mean that because you're ending up so much time at home, you really need to move out every evening and go for a long walk and ensure that you're picking up a few things, because you end up doing some amount of social interaction while electronically via e-commerce. So e-commerce makes it very simple to buy. By a click of few buttons, you are able to purchase and it gets delivered. But at the same time, there is a little fun and there's a little, there's a little good feeling to going physically touching and buying a few of the things. I mean, in my place itself, I stay in Bandra, and a lot of my home related groceries, etc., still come from regular shops. We are not so e-commerce friendly as yet as a family. So, but yeah, it's very case to case, and it's very depending on who's staying where and what kind of facilities are available. You might stay in a location where really nothing much is available in the vicinity. So which is why you might be tending to buy from via e-commerce. So it's very case to case to that extent. But yeah, there will be the tilt to answer your question. There will be a tilt, but it will not really change the game.
Ajay, sorry. Can we just take one last question here? I'm so sorry for that.
No problem. I think yeah, we've overshot. Yeah, sure.
And I guess I only have the last question.
Okay.
So at least I guess I deserve at least that much of leeway for hosting and managing things around. So I'll club my question. There were a few questions put together. So one with now you said the real estate probably is likely to see a slowdown because of changing environment. Do we see homes now coming up with a space for work from home, just like we had a storeroom available or an additional study available or a prayer room? So something on those lines. Do you see anything happening around those lines, and how does that impact the cost structure?
Very good question. And there will be a change in the way homes will be designed to be able to accommodate this. In fact, even now, to be very honest, we had customers who are, uh, uh, like I mentioned to you, we keep getting inquiries regularly. So some of the new inquiries which are coming are for 2.5 bedrooms, as an example. So they are saying we need that little study room because we may end up, the person who's inquiring is saying that I may end up working from home at least 3 days a week. So see, like I said, I typically tend to service some of the HNIs who are at senior level position. They may not be able to work from home completely because they are running large teams, but they want to move into a model where they can work sometimes from their home, and they are saying that can we get that half bedroom extra. In fact, what we've started doing right now when we are marketing a property and we see that it's a 3.5 BHK or it's a let's say compact 4 BHK, so we call it a 3 bedroom plus study or 3 bedroom plus work from home room kind of a thing. We started also tweaking our marketing language to connect to these kind of customers who are looking for that little extra space. So that is one. Second thing is that I've been talking to developers, and right now, unfortunately, the industry is such that developers are not wanting to launch new projects, but they're looking at ways of tweaking and changing the layouts of their existing projects to be able to again suit this particular requirement. Customers who are approaching, let's say, a Lodha. So I'll give you an example. There's a project called Lodha the Park, which is at Worli, and it's got 2 bedroom, which is approximately 850 square feet, and it's got a compact 3 bedroom, 950 square feet. So earlier, people were not liking that compact 3 bedroom because they were saying, "Kya itna chota 3 bedroom, 950 square feet? Nobody likes it." Okay, but now the 2 bedroom guy is preferring to look at the 953 bedroom compact because he's seeing it as a 2.5 bedroom. And the demand for that 950 square feet has suddenly increased. Earlier, that 950 square feet was nowhere. Neither was it a 2, neither was it a 3. But now that 950 square feet has suddenly got an identity of its own and is witnessing an increased demand. Are you getting? So this is the change in the needs which are happening. People are asking for 2.5 BHKs. People are asking for 3.5 BHKs. They are saying compact 4 BHK though, which I'll work as a 3 plus study, and so on. So that is a change which we are definitely witnessing in today's times. Whichever developer may launch new projects or is able to make change to their layouts will, I think, be working in this direction. Another point which is connected to this, everybody's talking of work from home. There is another concept which may also pick up is walk from home. So commercial buildings in residential areas with small offices will tend to gain popularity because people may say that I don't want to work from home, I can't work from home. I'd rather invest in a small 50 lakh office, 1 crore office, investment ka investment bhi ho gaya, and I'd rather cross my building and go in the vicinity and work from there. I don't want to go all the way to BKC from Borivali, but मेरे ही घर के बाजू में एक छोटा बिल्डिंग है, उसमें छोटा ऑफिस मिलता है, मैं वहां से काम करूंगा. I can't work from home. So walk from home is another concept which may come in.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Kalim sir, would you want to come in and say something?
Yeah, can you remove the screen share? I'll just.
I'll do that.
Ajay, it's a pleasure meeting you after ages here, virtually albeit, but it's such a pleasure. And I was checking things out. I was waiting on the social media things and all were there. I said, let me talk to you in person, right? So for the batch, it's such a pleasure to have Ajay here. Ajay is 97, 99. That takes it about 21 years that you passed out, right? Makes it a lot of years. And in fact, this was the first batch that I ever taught at Rizvi. And so it was reverse ragging. They ragged me, so all that I do to you right now is because they were nasty with me when I started teaching, right? So I'm giving it back to you guys. But Ajay has been also a very, very strong supportive system to the institute. He's been wonderfully kind and alumnus. And when we reached out to him for this session, he was always welcoming. In fact, for all initiatives at the institute, he's always there. And I'm sure, Ajay, this is the first time where you're on the reverse side of the table, So I'm sure the feeling was good and nostalgic. Yeah.
Definitely, sir. Definitely.
Wonderful. So thanks a lot for a wonderful presentation. Thanks a lot for the detailed Q&A. And I'm sure once we open up, we'll definitely have one round of you coming down the institute all over again.
Lovely. So looking forward, definitely. And it's been a great pleasure. And I loved every single moment. I
Thanks.
took this entire week to prepare my presentation. I wanted to do a good job with that.
But it's come out real well. It's come out real well.
So I was looking forward to interacting with everybody. And hopefully very soon I'll see them in person also.
Inshallah, pakka. I'm sorry for joining in a little late. I was on another webinar, but I told Uma, don't close it. I want to meet Ajay because it's been a very long time.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thanks, Atandya. God bless you. Can I just request the students to hold on for a moment? Thanks, Ajay.
Thank you,
very
Ajay.
much.
Thank you so much. It was a beautiful presentation for somebody as lay as me, who just understood real estate as brick and mortar. You have really opened the eyes and said, okay, real estate belongs to much more broader subject than what it really is. And for the students here, I have to put this on record. When I was approaching Ajay and subsequent conversations that we have had in the past 2 weeks, he has had a lot of questions in terms of how exactly the audience composition is. What exactly do they expect from me? Do you want me to do this? I can't do this. I can do this. So there is a lot of thought that has gone in, and it was reflecting in the presentation. So Ajay, thank you so much.
Umar, if you speak to him, Umar, if you speak to him for long, be rest assured he'll end up selling you something also, right? That's the way I've known Ajay.
I don't mind. Yeah. I don't mind paying for 2 and getting a 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. But really thank means you. A lot, Ajay. Thanks, Atandya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ajay.
Thanks. God bless. Thank you. Okay. For the batch here, there is